Phil Foden bags another goal in the Premier League. His fine form continues. The points gap between Arsenal and Man City is reduced to just 2 points ahead of Arsenal kicking off against Bournemouth. Newcastle, have they thrown away their top 4 chances? 1 win in 8 Premier League games for them now, with just 3 goals scored in those games as well. All that and much, much more on the fan highlights and match reaction show. Let's go.
Absolutely magnificent.
7 games unbeaten, closing the gap on Arsenal. City looking sharp today. City looking on point today. And no one more so than Phil Foden. This young man is generational talent. This young guy is a sensation. And when you think about football, there's so many different ways now that people kind of weigh up who's good, who's bad, what's generational, ability, goals, individual awards, etc. But Phil Foden tops the bill in all of them, in absolutely all of them. This guy has got ability. He can progress the ball. He can dribble. He can pass, use both feet, can play on the left and the right, can play in central midfield. The versatility, but quality in each of those positions from Phil Foden is nothing short of sensational. And he hasn't had a great season by his standards. And that's kind of understandable. You know, he's 22 years of age. He turns 23 in May this year. And he's probably having the worst season of his Man City career so far, but he's had some off-the-field problems. But he still popped up with 12 goals and 5 assists across all competitions in 32 games, across everything. He's firing on all cylinders right now, and just when Manchester City need him. And the reason that I rave so much about Phil Foden, the reason that I praise him so highly is because he ticks all the boxes, in my opinion. Ability, outputs, and trophies. When it comes to legacy, you're going to look at how his longevity, that's sort of the 4th quarter of, in my opinion, the best way to assess a player. It's the best way to assess a player. The holy quad, as I call it. Your ability, your outputs, your trophies, your longevity. The 4 most important pillars. Young players don't have longevity yet because they're young, so you take that away. You're just judging them in the here and now. And this young man, 202 games he's played. In those games, 58 goals, 38 assists, 4 Premier League titles, 1 FA Cup, 4 EFL Cups. And he has been integral, absolutely, fundamentally integral in all of those title-winning seasons and in all of those trophies that Man City have won, whether it be in finals or whether it be semis or in the lead up to these games or important games like today, where actually in the opening 14 minutes, Newcastle were a little hard to break down. KDB was having an off day and you need somebody else to step up. Haaland at the moment isn't at his, in my opinion, he's not at his scintillating best. He's not at his scintillating best. So you need other individuals to step up, and Foden has done that. This guy is, based on the holy quad, he's the best young talent in the Premier League of the last 3 to 4 years. Maybe not just on ability. Maybe there's some young players with better outputs, but no one that has more ability, more outputs, and more success together. This guy is out of this world. And he's a generational talent because he builds upon this now. And it's all about him. He keeps working hard. He maintains these levels, continues to score, continues to assist, continues to win. He will go down as a footballing legend. He's already got 4 Prems to his name, 4 league titles to his name. And he's a star. And I think maybe because he's at Manchester City, there is a, there's not a stigma against Man City players, but they just don't have a big enough fan base, period, I think, to fight their corner. It's why David Silva and Aguero don't get as much respect as they deserve. But Phil Foden is out of this world. And listen, there are lots of players out there. You know, Rashford, who's obviously a little bit older. You've got the Sakas of this world, who some will argue and say are better footballers. But I'm consistent, and I judge for every footballer based on the same metrics. I don't chop and change. I don't do ability for one player outputs for another, trophies for this. But the one thing that isn't part of the Holy Quad, by the way, is individual awards. We know they're flawed. We know that they're often, the fact that Van Dijk just got into a World 11, one of the best centre-backs in the world, tells you that these awards are not worth the paper they're written on. 3 years running, I've seen these award ceremonies go to 3 at the back, 3 in midfield, and 4 up front, so they can get Mbappe and Haaland in there with Messi and somebody else. It's a travesty. They're not even playing formations that managers use just to shoehorn people in. So I discount player awards because for me, they're so biased and have been for a long time. Ability, outputs, trophies. And then when it comes to judging your legendary status, we throw in the longevity element into that as well. I want you to argue with my logic and not my opinion, because I'm not going to change my opinion because I won't change my logic. You've got to change my opinion. You've got to change my logic. Maybe you want to do it. But for me, Phil Foden, sensational today and so important to City picking up these points. He really, really was. Great performance from him. I also want to say when it comes to, I also want to turn around and say that 2 players again today that stood out for in a City shirt for me. I thought Akanji, I've not seen him put a foot wrong in a City shirt, really. Some of you City fans might remember specific moments. You obviously watch the games in more intricate detail than me. But I kind of feel like, I want to make sure I say this in the right way. He's just been a sensational signing. He's not put a foot wrong. I haven't seen him look out of place. He has been taken to City like a fish to water. Out of this world. And also Ake. Ake, for me this year, has been one of the best centre-backs in the league and one of the best left-backs. He's been rotated from centre-back to left-back, back to centre-back for a few games, then back to left-back. And he has pocketed some top players. He's played exceptionally well. And he's turned out to be an almighty good signing. I think when he went for, is it £30 million they signed him for? I remember there being a lot of people that kind of scoffed at that and played it down. It's terrible business. It's too much money. He's not worth it. Well, he is. Well, he was. And he's proving it now in this team. He's been absolutely brilliant for Manchester City this year. He was good last year, but he's been very, very good. Very, very good indeed for them. The Mad Hatter here says, Foden coming back at it. He absolutely is. And City fans won't like what I'm about to say, but this is why I rate him above Jack Grealish, who's a lot older as well, by the way, because this guy can carry the ball as well. The 2 things I seen Grealish get praised for the most, he carries the ball well and he attracts players into him, which means he frees up space for others. Great. Phil Foden does that, but he scores, he assists, and he wins your games. That's why, for me, I look at ability and your outputs. And your outputs are a number of things. They're not just goals and assists. Progressing the ball is a statistic. But if you can have a player that progresses the ball, if you can have a player that attracts attention, therefore creates space for others, but also scores and delivers goals and gets assists, they're a better player than a person that's just doing 2 of those 4 things. And that's kind of how I assess football. I think we overcomplicate it sometimes, and it isn't. Foden firing on all cylinders. And this, by the way, if Jack Grealish starts to add more goals and more assists, he becomes one of the best players in the world. Because all the other stuff he does is really good, but you need to deliver those numbers. Just go and look at the Ian Robbins and the Angel Di Marias of this world. They progressed the ball brilliantly. They held on to possession brilliantly. They attracted players into them, which created space for others, but they scored and they assisted. The best in the world do that. This notion that we have attackers that are suddenly excused from scoring or creating goals, it's a myth. It's a nonsense. It's a nonsense. It should never exist. It really, really, really shouldn't exist. Terry, you said that Rashford and Saka should have started for England, not the generational talent. Again, though, when you're talking about England, you're talking about a tournament, and you should be picking the players that are on form in that particular moment in time. Some of the best players in the world, some of the best generational talents go in and out of form. So when you're picking a team based on that's based over a short period of time, like a World Cup, you pick your players that are in form at that moment in time. And Phil Foden wasn't. Therefore, they should have been picked. But that doesn't mean that overall they're better. Plus, we're not talking about who's better in an England shirt. We're saying who's delivering domestically, who's delivering on a club level here. Now, there have been times where, for instance, you actually look at Peter Crouch's record for England, Danny Welbeck's record for England, really, really good. from a goal to game ratio compared to their league, to their club form. It's a different kettle of fish, my friend. Good challenge, though, but a very, very different kettle of fish. Wait, next season, the real star boy will be back. He who shall not be mentioned, left foot, right foot. Listen, we'll drop that one there. I weren't sure what you were talking about until I put it up. To be honest, this is from Leo, who's an Arsenal fan. He says, to be honest, Phil Foden is better than Saka in technical ability. Again, technical ability is a little bit like who we all think's good looking. It's kind of a preference thing to a lot of people. Everyone, if you got like 10 people lined up and said, tell me what ability means, you'd probably get 10 different answers. Both have got brilliant ability. Both are brilliant technically. I don't really differentiate between the two. I think their technical ability is different, but on par with one another. Lol, all these haters for Saka. He's the best player in the league right now. Keep crying. Listen, Saka is amazing. And remember, if you're a person who is comfortable in yourself, if you're an individual who believes in his players, who backs his players, it doesn't really matter. As great as Phil Foden is, if you said to me now, Terry, would you take Rashford out of your squad and take Phil Foden? I wouldn't swap him purely on my love for Marcus Rashford. As a Man United fan, I know where I rate him in terms of when I put my football head on where I rank him. The guy's got four major trophies, but he doesn't have any league titles yet. Rashford, we haven't seen him perform in a title race yet. So I can't put him on the same level of career as Phil Foden yet. On ability, he's there. On outputs, he's there. He just doesn't have the trophy element. So on the three sections of the Holy Quad, he doesn't have one of them yet. Foden has all three, so he's above. And I'm consistent in that. Do you want to know why I'm going to be consistent in this? Because it's how I judge legends of the Premier League. So if I start yielding on my morality and my integrity now, all I end up doing is creating a situation where my legends can be replaced. It means suddenly that Paul Scholes's, Wayne Rooney's, Rio Ferdinand's, Ryan Giggs's trophies mean nothing. When every fan base, when they argue that trophies are the ultimate barometer, how did you deliver and were you integral in your team winning them? Now, people say, but Anderson and Luke Chadwick have got trophies. Yeah, but they don't match up on this. They only have one element of the quad, not all four. So again, it's a straw man, weak boys. I call it a boys argument. A soy boys argument is what it is. Don't be one of them. Don't be one of them. Let's have a look at some more of your comments that have come through here. Akanji has been a top signing. Yeah, he absolutely is. He's been out of this world. He really, really has. Terry, give Grealish a break. He has 8 GA in 16 games post-World Cup. He has been City's best player in that period, but agree Foden is better. But then we agree. Like I say, Foden's better. That's all I was saying. It's not like giving me a break. Foden at 100 million, playing for one of the best teams in the world. I expect more outputs from him. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm saying. When he starts doing it, you watch Bison, City fans start go, look how good he is now. They know I'm speaking the truth. They just don't want to. They just don't want to outright admit it. This here says Foden is above. Sorry, I've already done that one. This here says. Sorry, I've already done those starred comments. Let's go to some more of what you guys are saying. If City think Foden is better, then. Sorry, if City think Phil is better, let them. Saka's my boy. And that's exactly down to it. For me, listen, when you say better, everyone normally talks about ability because ability is subjective, so you always win. You can always win a subjective argument because it's based on feelings. I always add outputs and I add trophies into it because it then goes away from being subjective to objective. Who's delivered? And I'm always at risk of not having my players come out on top in those arguments. But it's because I just can't do ability only arguments. I said it before. Ability only arguments is buttered toast. I'm sitting here making a well-seasoned avocado smash with some salmon. You know what I mean? We're talking about on some whole grain, thick, sort of no artificial additives style bread. Do you get what I'm saying? Legit. We're moving up level. This ain't basic. The Football Terrace, you as a community, we're not basic. Basic channels talk about ability. Basic analysis is about ability. Imagine just talking about ability. What about the actual tangibles of football? It's crazy. It's crazy. Rashford, Saka, Foden is what Mangu Bain here has got to say. And by the way, you can have your favorites. I'm not trying to say that you can't like who you want to like. I'm just telling you my standards. And there isn't an argument, unless you can debunk my logic and make me change my logic, which I'm very willing to do. You can give me a better way of looking at football than I have, then I'll change my mind. I'm very open to it. But yeah, Terry and well seasoned. Yeah, right, bruv. All my food is well seasoned. All my food. King Winter here says, King Winter Soldier says, smash the like button. People 1K here watching and only 100 likes. Of course, get the likes up. The first thing you should do when you go into anyone's YouTube channel is hit their like button. It's the first thing you should always do. It's just courtesy. Since Phil Foden came back into the team, we've created more chances and scored more goals because he's one of your best attackers. He doesn't just hold the ball, he doesn't just create space for others. He actually moves the needle. This is what elite level players do, just like Rashford, just like Saka. Elite level football, elite level attackers create and score goals. It's as simple as that. Now, I do want to speak about Newcastle for a moment. I want to speak about Newcastle because I need to call some of you out here. I need to call some of you out. You all doubted me and said I was being disrespectful to Newcastle when I said I think they'll fall away. 1 win in 8, 3 goals in 8 games. And the maddest part about today is Joe Linton and Callum Wilson miss gilt-edged chances to score. But statistically, they won't count as shots or chances because they both missed the ball against not open goals, but Joe Linton should be connecting with that ball and burying it. And Callum Wilson, get your laces through it, hit it with a bit of bounce, nice and low. Boom, no goalie saving it. It could have been 2-1 to Newcastle before City even made their changes. Too many draws this season. Goals are drying up. The purring is finished. For me, Newcastle will not make the top 4. They may make the top 6. Liverpool's resurgence and tomorrow's result for them against Man United is going to be key. But Tottenham here again, listen, Tottenham have done well. I think they've won 4 of their last 5 games. You've got to give them credit for that. But Newcastle's drop-off is as I predicted it would be. And that isn't because Newcastle are a bad team. I feel they were slightly punching above their weight. They don't have players with a great deal of experience of making it into the Champions League. And they're basically 1 year into their rebuild. So it wasn't disrespectful to write Newcastle off. I think it was realistic to say I think they'll fall away based on how they look this season and when you review their squad. You know, people will say, well, you haven't predicted Arsenal to fall away. They're not experienced in winning league titles, but I'm basing it on their performances as well. So again, nothing with me is one-dimensional. Multiple thought processes going on at once. So best critical thinking is the way I like to, what I call it. And Newcastle's performances for months now haven't quite been there. The finishing edge, the killer edge, gone. So yeah, I do think they're going to fall away, but they'll come good again. They're going to keep investing. They're going to keep going. I think if they come in the top 6, that's still a tremendous achievement. Nobody predicted them being there, and they would deserve nothing but credit. There's no doubt. This says here, Terry, Newcastle parked the bus versus Arsenal, but didn't show the same respect to City. Wilson is out of form. He is vital for them. You could argue they did show. I mean, it's disrespect. It's not about respecting City. Maybe it was yeah. I mean, I think I don't know really. It's City have been gettable this year. That's why teams have gone at them, and they were gettable today because they created 2 chances they should have scored from. But I don't know if it's about disrespect. Arsenal are just a better team this year than everybody else, so they pin teams back more. I don't think it's necessarily about, right, today we're going to attack because we don't think City are good versus today we're going to sit back because Arsenal are too good. That's also taking something away from how good your team is. Like, I don't think Arsenal fans are not thinking beyond the end of their nose here. You know, they're not looking beyond the end of their nose. It isn't that teams sit back because they respect you more. It's because you literally pin them back because you're so good. That's more what I think this is, in my opinion. Terry, it was always going to happen. Hi, Mama Flossie, hope you're well. Yeah, of course it wasn't. That's why when I said it, some Newcastle fans online took exception to it and got angry. I don't say things to trigger people. I do sometimes, like with Tottenham in the last few days. But it's only because, again, they came for me for predicting their season as it's gone. They came for me because I said, I don't think they had a good summer. Yes, we did. Now they're saying they didn't have a good summer. I don't think their squad's good enough to challenge for a title. Yes, it is. We've got a brilliant squad. Now they're moaning their squad is not good enough. Some Newcastle fans did similar. Oh, Terry, how dare you doubt us? Now they're all doubting themselves of making the top four. I give honest opinions. I don't have agendas, really. This comment here says, I think Newcastle are desperate for goals. That's why they have been more open. That play, Dan T, you're spot on, mate. The mentality of an athlete is a weird one. Because they know they're struggling for goals, they're overcommitting to score. Their overcommitment is leaving them open to counters. It's the same in fighting. No, I did like sport karate, points fighting at a good level. I had a number of full contact fights. I was at a decent level of martial arts. And the one thing that was always true in that sport, if you overextend, if you try too hard to hit your opponent, you would always leave gaps where you would be counted and caught. And Newcastle are doing that right now. That is a parallel between the two sports. And if you've ever had real fights, you don't need to be Conor McGregor or Tyson Fury. But if you've ever had controlled fights at a decent level, you'll understand the need for staying calm. And there's an expression that my coach used to use to us when we fought. It was don't be careless, but don't be too careful either. You've got to get that balance right. And Newcastle at this moment in time, they're in balance because of their overextension to score goals. You're spot on there, my friend. That's a great take. Terry, you think Potter will be sacked today if Leeds win? Listen, I've been calling this. I want so much flowers if he gets sacked in the next 2 games because people have been doubting it like I've been talking a different language, as if I'm talking like a Martian. He's on the edge of being sacked, this guy. He's on the edge of being sacked. Wins and performances are needed and needed soon. Needed very, very soon. Fads here says, Foden is incredible. Man City look a lot better with him back in the side. And that's the irony when people say, but they'd have won all these titles without him. I don't think they would have done. Or they wouldn't have won them, especially the ones that were close up against Liverpool. You know, they'd have won the title. If you actually go back through it, right? Let's just have a little look here. And there's a number of players, if you took out their teams for the whole season, they may not have won leagues with. There's a number of players. But if you actually just go back and have a look at their title winning seasons, last year they won it by a point. Take Phil Foden out for the whole season. I guarantee you he won them at least 3 points. So they wouldn't have won the league without him. 2001, they won it by 12 points. So you could argue that year without him, just him, they may have still won it. But he was integral. In 2019, they won it by 1 point. They had 98 points. I can guarantee you that season, he was integral in at least 3 points. So out of 4 of the last 5 years, take Phil Foden away, that's 2 less trophies that City may have had. And you could throw that argument if KDB was missing, if this player was missing. It's called a team, by the way. Now, I don't really believe in one-man teams as a logic. Equally, I don't just believe that, if you don't have him in the side, they wouldn't perform. I think that absolutely integral he has been on a regular basis. You've seen the uplift of their team when he's been in it. He's absolutely out of this world. And the differences between Foden and a lot of other players is the goals and the assists. At the end of the day, the reason that goal-scoring players are more valuable than players that score less goals is because goals change games. It's weird how scoring goals has become so watered down as not being important. When you speak to most football people that know the game inside out, goals are the hardest skill in football because there are more people that can do Cruyff turns and score goals regularly. There are more people that can do 500 keepy-ups than can score goals regularly at the highest level. There are more people that can break lines with passing than can score goals regularly at the highest level. Scoring goals regularly at the highest level is the hardest and rarest skill and commodity in football. The fact that you kids, and some of you are kids watching, have not been taught that is astounding to me. And I do feel like an old man shouting at clouds. But the fact that young children are not taught this is mad. It's mad to me. It really, really is mad to me. I really, really do. V's here to have his say on the game today. What are you saying, V? Congratulations on the win. Talk to me, bro.
Hey, what a day. What a way to start the day. The game started 7:30 out here for me, so I'm starting it right. Love what I saw, and what happens when the league's best defense goes up against the league's best attack. It was solved today. The league's best attack wins 2-0. Solid performance. I don't need to talk about our star boy, but you already did. The man's been missed, and he's not a like for like. He brings something different to the team. I'm so happy that he's back, recovered from his injury. And Holland shut down the supply line. If he doesn't score, what does City do? The man draws so much damn attention that when he lays off a pass, others can score. He got another assist today. His creativity as well as his goal scoring is showing himself this year one with City. And I'm happy with the win, man. We had to do what we had to do. We got to take it. The games that are in front of us, we got to get the result. We play early. Does this apply pressure to Arsenal? Who knows? But it's about us. We just need to handle our games.
Listen, I agree. Listen, I think that, you so much better than Newcastle today. That they missed two really good chances. City are still giving up more chances than they have done in years gone by, and I think that's why the league is so enthralling this year. But with Phil Foden back in your team, there was just another level to you, because generally it's if KDB isn't performing and creating chances for Haaland to score, no one is. Having him come back in now just gives you another outlet, another creator, another goal scorer. And for me, I think that, listen, if you guys are going to catch these 5 points up with Arsenal, Phil Foden's form needs to remain like this for the rest of the season. You probably do need Haaland getting back to his best, because you're going to concede some goals. So you need to have 2 or 3 or 4 people on that pitch scoring and making sure you're winning these matches, because it's 12 games now for you. Yeah. Arsenal kick off against Bournemouth very soon, and that's what's crazy. Every game that Arsenal win now means you have less matches to win 2 more games than them, and you need goal scorers, you need finishers, you need points.
Yeah, we need all of that, and we're going to need every player. So the fact that Foden's back and he's playing well, we can have Grealish at times rest. We can have Mahrez today resting. So we have those different options. And when KDB isn't quite finding the pass, what I absolutely love to see was, again, Gundo didn't quite have the right weight of those passes, but he's looking up for Haaland and he's putting those balls into space. I think that's going to work out a lot better, and we're going to have threats from all over the pitch. We are unfortunately giving up these really good chances. They're not many of them, but when we do give up these attacking chances, they're threatening. So I'm glad that we got that clean sheet. It gave Ederson his 100th clean sheet for his career at City. And you know what? We're just going to do what we need to do. I believe we can outscore teams. We just can't leak these 1 or 2 silly goals through games. And we do what we need to do to close out this season.
Listen, couldn't agree with you more. V, always appreciate you coming on, mate, and giving us your thoughts and feelings. Top man. We'll chat again soon, bro. Thank you very much indeed. There's Vitor. Marshall here with a brilliant thank you for the donation to the Terrace. He says, Terry, Arsenal fans always say they have the best players in every position. They better win the league. I don't want to hear any excuses from them. Well, I think from any gooner individually that is saying they've got the best of everything, they have to then therefore win the league. I just think sometimes people are I tweeted about how good Foden is, and the amount of Man United and the amount of Arsenal fans in the replies saying, no, he ain't that good. It's just like, bruv, accept it. He is that good. Foden is that good. And he has things that a lot of the other good quality young players in the Premier League do. And that's multiple major trophies. Now, Rashford, by the way, has 4, but he has no league titles to that. Rashford start adding league titles, then he's got another part of the quad. And that's what it's about. It's for a footballer to be a legend, you've got to complete the holy quad. Your ability gets judged, your outputs gets judged, your trophies get judged, your longevity gets judged. Those things, because that way you separate people's peaks and you look at how great they were over the course of their career, how much did they win, how much did they influence games. And then, of course, you always look at their ability. You have to look at their ability. It's a key part of it. So yeah, I don't really get the hate. I do get the hate because everybody wants to have their player as a star. But I've been saying this for a while now. I get why Man United and Arsenal fans were doing that when we were in the mud, when we weren't winning things, when we weren't challenging. But I kind of want the younger generations of Man United and Arsenal fans to get to where my generations were and the generations before us, where you're judging players on elements of football that really matter, not just their ability or how they make you feel, but actually winning and scoring regularly. We don't need to, all Man United and Arsenal fans have had for 4 or 5 years is the crown of maybe having the best young player or having a star player, because we weren't challenging for titles. That's the difference. That's the elite mindset that we've got to get back into. And I think City fans are in that space because they've been winning so consistently. They really, really have. Listen, everyone who was tuned in today, a massive thank you to each and every one of you. We're back after all 3 of the live games at 3 o'clock. Arsenal, Bournemouth, Chelsea versus Leeds, and Wolves, Tottenham. So make sure you're tuning in. I want to see you all back here. You need to, I know that not all of you support the teams at 3 o'clock, but come and support me in the terrace. Hit the like and share button before you leave. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you soon.